Welcome to Hanoi, where it's so hot, it's actually fogged up my camera. Welcome to Hanoi, where it is 99 Fahrenheit. It is the hottest time of the year, according to locals. Now, fortunately, my apartment has AC. Unfortunately, the outdoors does not. But that is not stopping me. I have loved traveling during this time of year. Yes, it's hot and you kind of have to go inside during the afternoon, but it means fewer crowds, more opportunity to sit longer. You don't have to book things in advance. I love it. Sadly, I've only got a few days left in Hanoi, and so maybe when you travel, you have places that you want to see, museums, historical sites, things like that. I have a long list of foods from Hanoi that I want to eat. You probably know pho, which is the most famous Vietnamese food. It was born here in Hanoi. Banh mi, also a fantastic dish. Lots of other traditional Vietnamese food was born in Hanoi, like the soup I had yesterday, the snail vermicelli. I think that actually was from Hue, but it's also a really big deal here. So over the next couple days, I'm going to try to eat as much as I can in this heat. Normally when it's hot, I don't feel like eating a lot, but I'm gonna be a trooper because I do want to come back to Vietnam really soon, but I don't know when that's gonna happen. So you have to eat like it's your last time. First thing we're gonna do is a late breakfast with one of the most famous Vietnamese foods you probably already know. See you there. We've been traveling Vietnam for over 2 months, so let's just say 60 days. In 60 days, I've eaten more than 60 banh mi. I've eaten a lot of banh mi. I've eaten vegetarian, egg, vegan, beef, chicken, pork, different kinds of pork, pate. I even ate one that had no meat in it, just the cilantro and pickle things. That was all right. Banh mi actually refers to the bread, and bread for me is a comfort food. And so there are times where I've just felt like I need a little bit of comfort, and banh mi is where it's at. Bread here was brought by the French, and it continues to be a really great place to eat bread beyond the occupation of France. And I was surprised when I got to Hanoi that so many people said, you need to go to Banh Mi 25. You need to go, you need to go. When we walked down the street, I thought, oh, it looks like a little bit of a tourist place. So across the street, there is a place to do takeout. And then you've got these two little bar/restaurants. It is like a gourmet banh mi place. It takes the tradition and it bumps it up a little bit. And so I got pork because, of course, I know pork is going to be good. It's barbecued pork, pate, and sausage. And then Alan got chicken and cheese. Honey grilled chicken. Is it going to be good? This is a tourist spot, but it's also interesting to see how they take that tradition and make it, I guess, accessible for people that may not want to order on the street. But like, if you're not eating on the street in Vietnam, you are missing out on the best food. Good size. You can hear that crunch. First bite is bread, and that's okay. The bread is good. The bread is very good. We're also here for the pork. This is good. This banh mi is 40. And I will tell you, there are lots of places on the street in Vietnam that will sell you a 40 dong banh mi, or maybe 30 or 35, especially in Saigon. But this one is so good. Let me see, look at all that pork. Oh, it's very tasty. I don't know how they cook the pork or what they put in that pate, but these pickled carrots, daikon, and the cilantro, this is awesome. You have to try your chicken. First bite is like bread, but the bread is fantastic.
Perfecto.
Perfecto. Nice. This place, definitely worth the hype.
Want all my tips, including what didn't make it into videos? Check out my Vietnam guide for what to see, eat, and do, plus crucial tips for renting a motorbike in Vietnam.
Came at a really good time because it got really busy. We just lucked out on getting a seat. I will say this, I really thought we were gonna go into that place, eat one, and say, yeah, this place is great, but you could eat a banh mi anywhere. But that was a fantastic one. So if you can only eat one, that's a good one. But I would also say there are some really great ones on the street. I think we've had one every day. One was called B plus banh mi, which is really should be A plus. It's really good, a little bit cheaper, but also open very late. And so it's kind of a good late night snack. Now we're full. So we're gonna walk 10 minutes to go for some coffee, I think. I think it's time for a cold drink. If you wonder why I'm always walking behind Alan, it's not that he requires me to step 3 steps behind him. It's actually that there's no room on the sidewalks. There are technically sidewalks here in Hanoi, but for the most part, they are used to park motorcycles, to be the homes of plastic tables and chairs. So you're almost always walking on the street. And I think before I didn't notice it as much because there weren't as many cars in Vietnam. But now with cars, it does really make it a lot more crowded, especially since they don't care about you. So I'm probably not going to cover pho in this video, simply because, well, everyone knows to eat it, and it's not something I actually want to eat over the next few days because I've had so much of it. I like it, and I would say here in Hanoi, it's a much clear broth, and then you add things to it. But right here I see a big line, so I'm going to say if you want to try pho somewhere really good, this is probably the place. Pho Tan. It's not that pho isn't great, but it's not my favorite, and I just think it's better to try new things. The next coffee spot is somewhere that we've been to many times in other cities, but the first time in Hanoi, and I picked one that was across from the cathedral, so we could say we saw it. But I was raised Catholic, and so the scene at church, not interesting for me. This is more interesting. We're going to Kong Cafe. So if you've been following this series, you know that I love going to Kong Cafe. We've been to Kong in many cities. Now, Vietnam is no longer communist, it's actually socialist, but the decor of this place is Viet Cong style with dark green interior, lots of propaganda type posters and things. It's actually really interesting. And so a local here said, you know, Vietnamese don't talk about politics, they just open coffee shops about it. So today we are going to have 2 different kinds of coconut coffee. So I asked for a black coffee with coconut milk. That's my favorite way to have it. And Alan is getting the full-on coconut coffee, which is like a coconut ice cream coffee float. It's basically a dessert and a coffee. You get to choose. But I actually think just having coconut milk in coffee is fantastic. This was not what I meant, but they don't actually have it on the menu, and so I think they did the best they could with what I was asking. Now, one of the things I do like about Kong is that all the locations are different. It's not like a cookie cutter approach. There is the same aesthetic, but they all have unique buildings. Some have balconies, some are on the street. And so everyone you go into feels very different, but also very familiar. How is it?
There's no sugar.
There's no sugar in it?
No.
I put sugar in mine. I just took some sugar out of my purse and put it in because it just tasted like a straight up coffee.
I cannot make different is what of us is milk or coconut. For me, it tastes like milk.
It tastes like milk?
Yeah.
Oh, let me try it. Okay, maybe I just don't have the strongest coconut milk. I agree, it doesn't really taste coconutty. Okay, so it wasn't my order. I think they actually use coconut milk here that is not as strong. So if you want coconut coffee, don't get it here. But still come here, it's great. But just order a different coffee. Well, it's a few hours later. We were so full from that banh mi and it was so hot that we just we weren't hungry, we couldn't do anything else. And so now we're back outside, it's rush hour. I wanted to explain eating times a little bit in Vietnam because it's not 24-hour free-for-all maybe you would get like in other countries. So if you want to eat lunch, you've got to do it before 2 p.m. After 2 p.m., not a lot of traditional food spots are still open. They're usually prepping for dinner. Dinner you want to eat before 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is the cutoff to go for dinner. Even in places like Saigon, which are really late, it's hard to eat after 8 p.m. Not everybody does it. And so we're heading to a little spot that serves traditional food. I think it's 6, so we should have enough time for that. And then also maybe a dinner point too. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's still very hot out. It's got to be like 35 Celsius right now. It's very humid.
If you want to.
Now this spot is famous for locals. It's very small, but it's very well known. And so it only has a few tables. We were very lucky to come here early to try this. It's called Bún Rieu. And what makes it so special is I think it really just shares how complex soups are here in Vietnam and just how rich they can be and the work that goes into them and how little you spend for them on the street with all the work that goes into it. So in its essence, this is one of many rice noodle soups that you can find in Vietnam, but they are all different and they're all delicious. In this case, what they do is they take fresh water crab and they actually grind them down with their shell and make a paste into it, and that paste becomes the base for the stock that they use with rice ving or tamarind, a bunch of different spices. It gets its red color from tomatoes as well as annatto seed, also known as achiote. It's so rich. To make the stock, it takes a long time and you can taste it. And then she has so many different kinds of options of what you can get in here. Tofu, sausage, pork, spring roll. I don't even know what this is right here. Oh yeah. Whatever it is, it's really good. Yum. You can get this dish all over Hanoi. It's really an iconic dish, a dish that's very important to locals. They feel like the crab gives them a lot of protein. It's very healthy for them. It's very generous portions. You can decide what you want in it, but wow, this broth. It all starts with a broth and it's delicious. I also want to share with you, right behind me, this woman is fanning her tourists because it's so hot here. You might think that eating hot soup in hot weather is torture, but actually it's not so bad. Actually, bringing your body to the same level as the air makes it a little bit more bearable. All right, I'm on my own for this next one, and I'm here for Bún Cha, which is a pork noodle soup. It's probably the most famous traditional Vietnamese dish from Hanoi with foreigners. And that's because it has a traditional northern taste of spicy, salty, but most importantly, sweet. And so it's a nice light broth that is a little bit tangy, a little bit sweet. And so Westerners like us love that flavor. Now inside, what you'll get is grilled fatty pork. I also see that they have some grilled minced pork. It looks like she gave me a crab roll that is in some kind of leaf and fresh vegetables. Alongside, you'll get a plate of rice noodles and then also a huge plate of green herbs. If you like things to be a little bit more garlicky, a little bit more spicy, there's also this huge bowl of chilies and garlic, and you've got the regular condiments. Now, to eat it, what you want to do is they give you this bowl. You're going to put a little bit of the broth in it. You're going to put a little bit of the rice noodles in it. Then you're going to put a little bit of meat in it because this is manageable. This one is a little bit tricky, and you're probably going to spill it if you're like me holding it like this. Now, what's interesting about the Old Quarter in Hanoi is normally in old quarters in other cities, it's not where you're going to get the most authentic food. But here it is, and that's because the Old Quarter is also the economic hub. So lots of locals are here, lots of businesses are here. You get a mix of definitely the tourism, but if you look, you can find where locals eat. And that's because from the very beginning, this is the place where business transactions took place. You're gonna see a lot of different kinds of stores, and I really like that about Hanoi. There's lots of tourism here for sure. It's changed a lot in the last 15 years, but if you want local life, just get up early, get here early, and you can have it. It's definitely sweet. It's a light broth, a little bit greasy because of the pork. I don't say that in a bad way. Greasy is definitely a flavor or a sensation that you want to have. I'm going to take a little bit of lime in this. I like lime. A little bit more sharp, and then just a little bit of chili as well. Pork in Vietnam is just next level. It's so good, and they really do know how to grill it. I would say make the small bowl, add the things that you want. Personally, I like the mint, I like the lime. I do like to have a little bit of chili and garlic. I think it just takes it up a next level. This spot has been around since the 60s. It's very well known. And I think actually it might be in the Michelin Guide. If you can't get in here, don't worry. There's another Bún Chả restaurant next door. There are tons all over Hanoi because Hanoians also love this dish. And to be honest, I've never had bad Bún Chả in Hanoi. So go to the one that's closest to you and enjoy. Now we're heading for breakfast number 2. Now I know you're thinking, Angelina, were you wearing that dress yesterday? Yes, I was. But it's hot here. I think I've said that in all my videos. It's hot. It's 99 degrees, and this is cotton. Yesterday I sweat through it and I thought, might as well take one more day. And if you're a woman, how hot it is, I'm actually wearing shorts under this, which is hot, but I need to save my inner thighs. They will chafe if I try to walk this city without these shorts. Next up, we are headed to Bun Quan. It's a fermented rice noodle dish that's very popular at breakfast. We're pushing it a little bit. It's a little bit late in the morning, and as I said, in Vietnam, they do hold strict times, but this restaurant said they don't close for an hour, so fingers crossed they have some Bun Quan left. So breakfast number 2. Right now we're having Ban Quan, or I think it might be Ban Kun, and I'm pronouncing it wrong. But what I do know is that it's fermented rice paper that is then steamed, and it's filled with wood ear mushroom, some crispy shallots, and then also pork. Now, if you're not a pork lover or you can't eat it, they also have at this spot options for shrimp or chicken. And so he got the chicken, although I think the shrimp sounds amazing. Now what it comes with is just some fresh herbs on top and then this dipping sauce. This is traditionally eaten at breakfast. This spot that we're at right now started out as a food court, and I think it recently made it into a Michelin Guide. They close at 1 p.m., so we're getting the last seating, and then they open again at 5 p.m. They have other dishes on the menu as well that they're known for, but they started as a food cart for this. The rice rolls are smooth, silky, soft. You've got a little bit of a crunch from the crispy shallots, and then some umami with that woodier mushroom and a little bit of pork, which makes everything better, and then the sauce. It just makes you think, why are we eating cereal for breakfast in North America when we could be eating this? This is delicious. We're not going to be able to share the most exciting dish, the one I was looking forward to most because I can't find it. That is pickled red jellyfish salad. That actually kind of comes in a wrap. It's seasonal, late spring, early summer, and it's very traditional to the north. I was so excited about it, but the place that we were supposed to go to, it's just not there. It's just out on the street, and I don't know if it's because it's Sunday, if it's too late in the summer, maybe too late in the day, but they're not there. So Red jellyfish salad will be on my must-eat list the next time in Hanoi, along with kacha, which is a tamarind grilled fish, and then also frog. Because I didn't eat frog once in Vietnam, and that is something I regret. But this is not the end of the Vietnam videos. In the next video, we will be in Ha Long Bay, and it's gonna be a little bit different if you've seen other Ha Long Bay videos, because we're not going for just one night, but we're going for two. So I think it's gonna be really special. So I'll see you in the next video.
Join my Patreon community for more behind the scenes and exclusive content you won't find elsewhere. You can also find me on Instagram, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. All of these things make my day. Thank you so much for your support.